Dreams here. Welcome back to my channel. So my last video has been getting copyrighted, and the last video I uploaded just got age restricted. I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna keep recording. Alright, I'm right now watching Bob Dylan for 60-minute E.D. Bradley 2004 interview, upscale to HD, and it's 9:45 in the morning, y'all.
And I did it. I did it at one time.
You don't think you can do it today? Does that disappoint you?
Well, you can't do something forever, and I did it once, and I can do other things now, but I can't do that.
Well,
Dylan
it's
has been
pouring
writing
rain
music
outside, by
since
the way.
he was a
Look.
teenager in the remote town of Hibbing, Minnesota. The eldest of two sons of Abraham and Beatty Zimmerman.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Did you have a good life, a good, happy childhood?
I really didn't consider myself happy or unhappy. I always knew that there was something out there that I needed to get to, and it wasn't where I was at that particular moment.
It wasn't in Minnesota.
No.
It was in New York City. As he writes in his book, he came alive when at age 19, he moved to Greenwich Village, which at the time was the frenetic center of the 60s counterculture. Within months, he had signed a recording contract with Columbia Records.
You referred to New York as the capital of the world. But when you told your father that, he thought that it was a joke.
Cheers to get fierce.
Did your parents approve of you being a singer-songwriter, going to New York?
No. They wouldn't have wanted that for me, but my parents never went anywhere. My father probably thought the capital of the world was wherever he was at the time. It couldn't possibly be where any place else where he and his wife were in their own home. That to them was the capital of the world.
What made you different? What pushed you out of there?
Well, I listened to the radio a lot. I hung out in record stores, and I slam-banged around on a guitar and played the piano and learned songs from a world which didn't exist around me.
He says even then he knew he was destined to become a music legend. I was heading for the fantastic lights, he writes. Destiny was looking right at me and nobody else.
Use the word destiny over and over throughout the book. What does that mean to you?
It's a feeling you have that you know something about yourself nobody else does. The picture you have in your mind of what you're about
That's what this channel's
will
about.
come true. That's kind of a thing in your mind of what you're about will come true.
That's what this channel's about, man. It's the life of a rapper, that's right.
And you have that you know
shout out my
something
subscriber,
about
man.
yourself
We just
nobody
reached 1,000
else
subscribers.
does. The picture you have in your mind of what you're about will come true. You have in your mind of what you're about will come true. That's kind of you know something about yourself nobody else does. The picture you have in your mind of what you're about will come true. That's kind of a thing you kind of have to keep to your own self because it's a fragile feeling and you put it out there, somebody will kill it. So it's best to keep that all inside.
When we asked him why he changed his name, he said that was destiny too.
So you didn't see yourself as Robert Zimmerman?
And for some reason, I never did.
Even before you started performing?
No, even then. Some people get born, to the wrong names, wrong parents. I mean, that happens.
Tell me how you decided on Bob Dylan.
You call yourself what you want to call yourself. This is the land of the free.
Bob Dylan
That's
created
really
a
deep,
world inspired by old folk music with piercing and poetic lyrics.
Oh, shit.
Especially opposed to the media, which he saas
just
was
copyrighted
always
my
trying
shit.
to pin him down.
Do you think of yourself primarily as a singer or as a poet?
Oh,
Where I was perception.
Newspaper
wall. He went to it. People had
Something
was,
says if you.
how do you reconcile those two things?
My stuff were songs. They weren't sermons. if you examine the songs, I don't believe you're going to find anything in there that says that I'm a spokesman for anybody or anything, really.
But they saw it.
Yeah, but
That's
no,
what
but they must not have heard the songs.
It's ironic, you know, that the way that people viewed you was just the polar opposite of the way you viewed yourself.
And that's something?
Dylan did almost anything to shatter the lofty image many people had of him. He writes that he intentionally made bad records, once poured whiskey over his head in public, and as a stunt, he went to Israel and made a point of having his picture taken at the Wailing Wall wearing a skull cap.
When you went to Israel, you wrote to the newspapers, "Change me overnight into a Zionist," and this helped a little. How did it help?
Look, if the common perception of me out there in the public was that I was either a drunk or I was a sicko or a Zionist or a Buddhist or a Catholic or a Mormon, all of this was better than Archbishop Anarchy.
The spokesman for the generation.
Yeah.
Opposed to everything.
Mm-hmm.
He was especially opposed to the media, which he says was always trying to pin him down.
Do you think of yourself primarily as a singer or as a poet?
I think of myself more as a song and dance man, you know. People
Let me talk a little bit about your relationship with the media. You wrote the press. I figured you lied to it. Why?
I realized at the time that the press, the media, that's not the judge. God's the judge. The only person you have to think about lying twice to is either yourself or to God. The press isn't either of them. And I just figured it irrelevant.
Bob Dylan tried to run away from all of that. In the mid-60s, he retreated with his wife and 3 young children to Woodstock, New York. But even there, he couldn't escape the legions of fans who descended on his home begging for an audience with the legend himself.
So people would actually come to the house? And do what?
Want to discuss things with me, politics and philosophy and organic farming and things, you know.
What did you know about organic farming?
Nothing. Not a thing.
What did you mean when you wrote that the funny thing about fame is that nobody believes it's you?
People will, they'll say, are you, I think you are, and they'll say, I don't know, you know, and then they'll say, you're him, and you say, okay, you know, yes. I say, and then the next thing I'll say, well, no, you know, like, are you really him? You're not him. And you know, that can go on and on.
You go out to restaurants now?
I don't like to eat in restaurants.
Because people come up and say, are you him?
That's always going to happen, yeah.
Do you ever get used to it?
No.
Bro, look,
At
I
his
just
peak,
caught that.
fame was taking its toll on Bob Dylan. He was heading towards a divorce from
I
his
just
wife,
caught
Sarah.
that before I fell on the
My
ground.
wife, when she married me, had no idea of what she was getting into.
Well, she was with me back then, through thick and thin, you know.
Subscribe,
It just wasn't the kind of life that she had ever envisioned for herself.
Like button to forget
Any
to
more than the kind of life
if you wanna follow
that
me,
I was
follow
living
me,
that I had envisioned for
become a
mine.
part of the video shows.
By the mid-1980s, he felt he was burned out and over the hill.
You also wrote that I'm a 60s troubadour, a folk rock relic, a wordsmith from bygone days. I'm in the bottomless pit of cultural oblivion. Those are pretty harsh words.
Well, I'd seen all these titles written about me, you know.
And you started to believe it?
Well, I believed it anyway. Had a vision for herself, any more than the kind of life that I was living that I had envisioned for mine.
Bob Dylan. He was heading towards a divorce from his wife, Sarah. And
My wife, when she married me, had no idea of what she was getting into.
Well, she was with me back then, through thick and thin, you know. It just wasn't the kind of life that she had ever envisioned for herself,
She's one
any
of that
more than the
parade.
kind of life that I was living that I had envisioned for mine.
by the mid-1980s, he felt he was burned out and over the hill.
She was way too
You
pretty
also
for him.
wrote that I'm a 60s troubadour, a folk rock relic, a wordsmith from bygone days. I'm in the bottomless pit of cultural oblivion. Those are pretty harsh words.
Well, I'd seen all these titles
Cheers to
written
your
about me,
fears.
you know.
And you started to believe it?
Well, I believed it anyway. You know, I wasn't getting any thrill out of performing. So it might be time to close it up, you know.
You really thought about quitting, folding up the tent?
I had thought I'd just put it away for a while. But then I started thinking, that's enough, you know.
But within a few years, Dylan told us he recaptured his creative spark and he went back on the road. Performing more than 100 concerts a year.
And the album of the year is
In 1998, he won 3 Grammy Awards.
Time Out of Mind.
At age 63, Bob Dylan remains a voice as unique and powerful as any there has ever been in American music. His fellow musicians paid tribute to him when he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, joining him in a rousing rendition of his most famous song.
As you probably know, Rolling Stone magazine just named your song, Like a Rolling Stone, the #1 song of all time. 12 of your songs are in their list of the top 500. That must be good to have as part of your legacy.
Oh, maybe this week. But you know, all the lists, they change names, and, you know, quite frequently, really. I don't really pay much attention to that.
But it's a pat on the back, huh?
This week it is. But, you know, who's to say how long that's gonna last?
Well, it's lasted a long time for you. I mean, you're still out here doing these songs, you know, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end
What was your bargain?
to get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Bob Dylan has been nominated this year for the Nobel Prize in Literature for
What are
his
you talking
songwriting.
about, nigga?
His new book has been a bestseller for the past 7 weeks.
Fuck.
It was published by Simon & Schuster, which is owned by Viacom,
Let me know
the
what the
parent
fuck you was
company of
talking about right there in the
CBS.
end, man.
Dylan is planning to write 2 more volumes